I'm your host, Paul Mancano. We're going to be joined by Brendan Mortensen in just a bit. Today marks the first day of a new year of sorts for Major League Baseball, as it's the first day of the new international signing period, and the Orioles made a huge splash on the very first day, adding 24 players to their international signing class, including handing out the largest contract to an international signee in club history. We're going to talk about some of the best players from this class, the guys who got the most money from this class, and we're going to be joined by Orioles Senior Director of International Scouting, Kobe Perez, in just a bit. But first, I'm going to bring in my co-host, Brendan Mortensen, to remind you guys just how important this day is, Brendan. It didn't used to be a very important day under previous regimes in Orioles history, but the Orioles have put a lot of time and money into their international scouting department, and today they're seeing it pay off.
Yeah, kind of uncharted waters here for the Baltimore Orioles, as a lot of teams around Major League Baseball are really built on the international market, and we haven't seen the Orioles be very active in that market until the last few years under Mike Elias. They broke the record for a signing bonus given to an international prospect last year when they gave Samuel Bisayo a $1.3 million deal, and they're going to do the same thing today, Paul.
You're going to break that record by about $0.4 million, and we're going to talk about who is getting that contract and why he's getting that contract in just a bit. But you heard the record-breaking deal that went out last year. It was a major record-breaking day this time last year on January 15th, 2021. Let's see how it all went down as the Orioles added a huge class of 17 players a year ago. This past Friday marked the first day teams could sign members of the new international free agent class to deals. This year, the O's took what Elias called a, quote, gigantic step, inking 17 amateur free agents to deals, 2 of which were to deals worth 7 figures. Those 2 players are Samuel Bisayo and Michael Hernandez.
This was a history-making class, Paul. The Orioles have never signed an international amateur to $1 million or more, and they signed 2 players to that, as we know.
Yeah, I think this year we've kind of shown that we're ready to go all in. We've already put our feet in the fire down here, and we're seeing all the top guys.
The 2 names you heard there, Samuel Bisayo and Michael Hernandez, each signed for over $1 million, and each was added to the Orioles' top 30 prospect list, according to MLB Pipeline. Bisayo had a slightly better year at the plate in the Dominican Summer League with an OPS close to 750. Hernandez, meanwhile, hit .231 in about 40 games in his age 17 season. So, Brendan, those were the headliners of last year's class, as the Orioles have significantly increased their presence in the international market. But they haven't just done it with the players that they've added. They've also had some brick and mortar improvements to their international presence.
Yeah, you're right, Paul, and we probably won't see how that is going to impact the Orioles at the major league level for a few years, but as the O's are signing these 16-year-old, 17-year-old prospects, hopefully by maybe 2025 or so, we'll start to see some of these international prospects really make a difference at the big league level.
Yeah, back in October 2021, the Orioles broke ground on a new Dominican academy in Guerra, so they are hoping that creates a better environment to develop these prospects and to entice prospects as they intend to sign as many guys as they can to high-figure deals. Speaking of those high-figure deals, how much money did the Orioles come in with into today? $6 million, $260,600. That's the total pool that the Orioles have to spend in this signing period. They can sign guys all the way up until the end of the year, but the bulk of the signings are coming out today. That figure you see there is among 8 that teams have with the highest bonus pools around baseball. So the Orioles and 7 other teams have the most money at their disposal. And how do the Orioles use that? Well, here's a look at the full international signing class for 2022. Now, again, they have until the end of the year to bolster it if they'd like to, but the majority of their money is spent today on signing these youngsters. 12 of these 24 are from the Dominican Republic, 10 are from Venezuela, and there's 1 each from Cuba and Panama. The names you're going to want to hear: Braylon Tavera, Cesar Prieto, Leandro Arias, Edwin Amparo, and Thomas Sosa. Those are the highest profile guys that the Orioles signed, as you see a ton of middle infielders, several pitchers, some catchers in there as well, and even some speedy outfielders to add to this class. So Brendan, looking at the 24 guys, it's not the most the Orioles have ever signed on the first day of an international signing period, but it represents a significant jump from the 17 that they signed in 2021. What are your overall impressions of this class?
Well, it seems like Mike Elias and Kobe Perez are really focusing on bolstering the international class as a whole, rather than just getting some of the top guys. You see some teams around Major League Baseball spend virtually all of their budget on just one international prospect, where the Orioles are not spending any more than $1.7 million on their top prospect, but that's the name that you want to remember. Braylon Tavera, a 16-year-old outfielder, ranks the 22nd best prospect in the international class via MLB Pipeline, and he has at least a 50 in all of his scouting tools, that being hitting for power, hitting for average, fielding, running, and arm. He's noted as one of the most well-rounded prospects in the international class, with a chance to turn into a 5-tool player at the next level. And obviously at just 16 years old, there's a lot of projection going on there, Paul, but I think Tavera will probably be in the Orioles' top 30 prospects sooner or later.
Another headliner from this class, Leandro Arias, another 16-year-old. He's a shortstop from the Dominican Republic. He's the 46th ranked prospect in this international class, according to MLB Pipeline. He's a switch hitter who is reported to have good bat-to-ball skills and an advanced approach at the plate with power potential from both sides of the plate. Now, he does need to fill out his body, as most 16-year-olds do, but scouts think he can stick at shortstop as he continues to grow, and he's got what's called an emerging run tool, which projects as at least average.
And Paul, a really interesting prospect here, Cesar Prieto. He's older for an international signing at 22 years old, but he's got a proven track record. As a 21-year-old in the Cuban National Series, you see the slash line there over 76 games. Really unbelievable stuff. He's noted as the best pure hitter in Cuba. He's broken multiple records there, so the Orioles are adding a low-risk hitter with a proven track record, and he actually might be able to move throughout the Orioles system pretty quickly.
So those are just 3 headliners of this 24-person class, and for more on the Orioles signings on day 1 of the new international signing period, I spoke to Orioles Senior Director of International Scouting, Kobe Perez. Here's that interview. Well, it's a busy day for Orioles Senior Director of International Scouting, Kobe Perez, so we thank him very much for hopping on MASN All Access now. Kobe, thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be on, Paul. Thanks.
So 3 years in now under Mike Elias, and the Orioles' international presence has grown dramatically over the last 3 years. Today, you took a step forward by adding 24 guys on the first day of the new international signing class. Do you feel like you took a big step forward today in continuing to build a great presence in the international market?
Yeah, absolutely. We feel really, really good about our signing class. We think we've added a lot of talent to an already talented organization. We are making huge strides here in Latin America. I know we've spoken in the past about the complex that we're building, and everything is looking good. And I think soon these players will be at affiliates in the U.S. and we'll come back to these days and say, it took years to get it right, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
The most high-profile name in this class and the record-breaking deal of this class went to Braylon Tavera, the outfielder from the Dominican Republic, $1.7 million. What, in your mind, made him worthy of a deal that high, and what do you like about him, and what helped you get him?
Yeah, so Braylon is a highly coveted prospect who many teams were on, and again, we're signing him today, but we've been working on this guy for close to 3 years, ever since I got here. And, I think in talking to his family and his agent, just the presence that we now have in Latin America, him becoming the highest paid international player in Orioles history, really pushed him towards us. The fact that we're doing an academy down in the DR, the fact that he was personally scouted by Mike Elias, all pointed him towards us. And the fact that, we really stood on them, and we were able to compete with them with the other teams. And I think some of those things that I mentioned pushed him toward us. So he's a talented kid. He's got 5 tools as a 16-year-old, and we're hoping that we can work on him developing those tools and hopefully playing in the major leagues for us.
Cesar Prieto stands out for a number of reasons. He's from Cuba. He's the only member of this class from there, and he's 22 years old. And you brought up an interesting story of Mike Elias actually scouting him in person and getting to see him with his own eyes. Did that help recruit him? And what was the process like in getting a little bit of an older guy from Cuba as opposed to a lot of these younger guys, some from Venezuela, some from the Dominican Republic? Prieto is a kind of different prospect. How were you able to get him into the fold?
Yeah, so, a lot of time, a little bit of luck is involved in signing these guys. So he was declared a minor league. He was declared a international free agent in November. So obviously that was a couple months ago. As you know, in this market, teams work and come to agreements early. So we were in a good situation where he was available. We were monitoring his free agency, and once he became available, we were able to scout him and kind of be one of the teams in the forefront. There was other suitors there. The fact that Mike Elias, Brandon Hyde, Eve Rosenbaum all scouted this player, had conversations with this player, explained to him the opportunities that we have here in Baltimore, I think definitely helped us sign this player. There was other suitors, other organizations, but I think his agent, Dave Hastings, and the player and the player's dad all liked the situation that could be for him in Baltimore. So, this is a player with a track record, a high-profile international player, very coveted, has his track record speaks for himself, and I think it's a tremendous addition to the Orioles.
How much does having an academy which is on its way, broke ground just a few months ago in this academy in Guerra, how much does that help in the recruiting process, showing players that you have a physical embodiment of the kind of growth that you have created down there?
I think it helps tremendously. I mean, we're breaking ground in a brand new academy, and the players know that this is for them. This is where you're going to be when you're home in the DR. You have somewhere to go. You have somewhere to work out. You're going to have staff there. You're going to have supplements, meals, anything you need, education. We're here to stay. This is not a 1 or 2 year thing. This is a long-term play, and I think the players, the parents, and the agents realize that when they sign with us, that we're here for them, and we're taking this real serious.
Last but not least, you said on your call with the media earlier that you used almost the entirety of the pool money that was allotted to you. Now, you're technically allowed to sign players really until the end of the year, but did you feel like it was important to use the vast majority of your money today on the first day of the international signing period?
Well, the thing is, as you know, for this class, we've been working on it for 3 years. So we felt comfortable pulling the trigger on these guys because we had enough work done that made us feel good about these players. So in past years, we still were a little behind the curve as far as getting the work done and the process that we have in place to make decisions on players. So I think going forward, we're going to be signing higher end players, and as we did this year and to an extent last year, because the work is done so far ahead in advance. So the players that we'll sign in the next year's class, like we've identified some of those guys already. So we're in a much better situation now than we were when we first came in 3 years ago.
Absolutely. Another step forward and another exciting a day for Birdland. Senior Director of International Scouting, Kobe Perez, thanks so much for hopping on. We really appreciate your time, and congratulations on signing 24 players.
Thank you so much for having me on, Paul.
Can't forget about the MASN All Access podcast. Brendan and I did an emergency episode yesterday to discuss the changes to the left field wall at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You can hear that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can catch the MASN All Access podcast or watch it on YouTube or Facebook. And then on this Tuesday, we have part 2 of the All Earl Weaver draft. We are drafting the best players to have ever played under Earl Weaver. Part 1 was last Tuesday. You're not going to want to miss our final rosters and then vote on who you think has the best team coming this Tuesday. That just about does it for our show today. Thanks so much to Brendan for producing this podcast. Thanks to Kobe Perez for hopping by. And we want to hear from you. Comment below with what you think of the Orioles' new international signing class. I'm Paul Mancano, and we'll see you on Tuesday.